Hello everyone, Curtis White here from CannondaleCyclocrossWorld.com and the USA National Team, and welcome to the 2021 Cyclocross World Championships here in Ostend, Belgium. We are right on the coast with an absolutely epic track, so let's get into it. We start on this hippodrome with a little loose asphalt, then a near 180-degree turn right for the hole shot, where you're able to swing really wide. There's going to be a lot of fighting for position in this first minute of the course because the heaviest part of this track comes early on. Now, we're passing by pit 1 here, but this course is really broken into two halves. The heavier half is on the beach, which we are approaching. Then you come back into the infield of the hippodrome for some fast-flowing turns with some small mounds. If it rains, that part of the course could become slick and tricky, but today I'm going out on challenge chicanes at 1920 psi. Here we're going through this little bottleneck. This is really the first bottleneck of the course. If you're pushed to the outside or a little far back, you may have to put a foot down. But this is really the first choke point of the course that may thin out the group slightly, leading into this massive flyover up over this roadway and down the other side right onto the beach. And this flyover is much bigger than it actually looks. So as we're dropping off this flyover, it's full gas, no brakes, down into the sand. And you want to carry as much momentum as possible and carry a big gear through the sand. Just let the bike go where it wants to in the ruts and don't force the steering too much. Here we just see Michael Boros, the Czech national champion, session the sand really well. He had momentum, carried the gear, and chose good lines through this section. As we reach the edge of the water, we're able to take a bit of a breather on this firmer sand for a few pedal strokes, but we're going to have to surge again and carry our momentum back up the beach, away from the water, and towards the Royal Galleries of Ostend, which we'll have a really nice view of. This is a really heavy part of the course and a really heavy effort that could easily turn into a long run. So, off the firmer part of the sand, find a good rut, carry the momentum well, make sure you're in a good gear to spin through it. I was able to choose a really good line through this practice, but again, momentum slows down and you want to dismount while you have that momentum instead of letting the wheels dig into the sand. Now, it's been noted in the press that the tide may play a bit of a role in this course in that we won't have to ride out really far for firm sand if the tide is high. The lower the tide is, the longer we have to ride out for that firm sand. So, for the elite women on Saturday, high tide is 2:51, so really close to their race, and on Sunday, high tide is 3:31, halfway through the elite men's race. So, onto this concrete along the Royal Galleries of Ostend for a quick recovery. We're able to remount or hopefully carry the momentum through the sand, catch a breather, and then build our momentum back up because we're heading back into the sand for another heavy part of this course. And the sand is very deep and loose, and it can be very easy to lose good technique if you're tired. And if you're losing speed, again, it's best to dismount quickly while you have the momentum instead of when your wheels begin to dig into the sand. Here, I choose to get off the bike while I have the speed. With the sand is this loose and there's no defined rut, it's probably better to shoulder the bike and just carry that good form. But this is the practice day and I'm here to observe, and I'm looking around more and looking at the sand and really taking it all in. So you're seeing just how many ruts there are in the sand. They're really going everywhere. There's a lot of footprints, and it is that really big effort to carry that momentum all the way through this section. We're going to see there's a bit firmer part of the sand. You see a couple of the Belgians to our right observing what other riders are doing, but you're able to remount. There's a little firm patch, carry your momentum again, and the course bends around slightly to the left. Find a good rut. Again, good gearing, composure, carry the momentum well. Here we see U.S. national team coach Jesse Anthony just to our left. Give a couple words of what he's noticing, but this is another really heavy part of the course that's hard to carry the momentum all the way through. And we're coming up to the heaviest part of this track, which is back up over this flyover. And if you're coming into this section in the red, and into this flyover with a little momentum, this is where the effort really starts to become very taxing. Here we're saying it's really just muscling the bike up and over. Again, whether you're running the bike or muscling it through the sand, you're coming into this section with not a lot of momentum. So this is where raw horsepower comes into play, and this is where people are going to be burning the most matches. So the flyover flattens up over the top. Normally this would be a little moment to rest and get a little reprieve, but today during the pre-ride we were seeing 25-30 mile an hour winds, so not a lot of rest there unfortunately. But we're dropping off, carrying a lot of momentum. Make sure to ease the bike back onto the pavement. You don't want to bottom out the tires too much. But we're cutting left on this loose sand as we're approaching pit 2 here. Heading slightly to the right, back to the left, coming up to pit 2. And you'll see that both pit lanes are very smooth and fast. No bumps or divots to note really on any of the pit boxes. There's not a whole lot of advantage or disadvantage for either one. Very wide open. And unless the course gets very heavy with mud, I don't think we'll see a lot of consistent pitting this weekend. So, after pit 2, bending to the right here. There's a small little drop coming back onto the hippodrome. And we're parallel to the start-finish straight right now. Today we noticed that there was a tailwind coming down the start-finish straight. Now we're into this bit of a headwind section. So we're going to start to see that there are a lot of really tight, flowing turns. Some of them are getting greasy right now. There was a couple of ruts being burned in. But this is not a real pedaling-heavy part of the track. This is a little moment to recover, regroup. If you're just off the group in front of you, try to get that wheel. But, again, a little bit of a tailwind here. Get up over these small humps. Not a lot of obstacles here. Some sandy bits, but, again, through the corners it's going to be a little greasy. And we are starting to see a little bit of rain or potential snow on Saturday in the forecast, which could make this part of the course very greasy or heavy with mud. It's very difficult to tell right at this moment, but it'll be interesting to see. Again, at this moment, I'm riding Challenge Chicanes, 1920 PSI. This worked well for today. Even with these greasy corners, I had really good side knobs, but something tells me that this course will get a little bit more worn down. See, the grass is a little bit more fresh here, a little bit moist. So bending to the left, right. Small divots here and there, but it's just a flowing part of the track. So we're dropping down small little concrete slabs. Coming up to a little bit of an off-camber turn here. And left, right, hook left over the top. Couple 180 turns coming in. But again, not a pedaling heavy part of this track. This is a part of the track where you can rest and catch your breath. But it also is a part of the track where you need to have a lot of composure in a different way from the sand. The sand requires a lot of finesse and muscling the bike through it and being on top of the gear. This is just about driving the bike and maintaining that small traction patch that you have. In cyclocross, we're limited with our tire width to 33 millimeter tires, and especially if we're looking for faster tires that flow over the sand like a filetread or a challenge chicane, or maybe a Grifo if this is a really slick track, we have to kind of counter steer a little bit more to maintain that small traction patch through these greasy turns if that is the way this track is going. But we really are just about a minute away from the finish, and because this part of the course has so many tight, slick corners and there's not a lot of opportunities to pass, if you're coming into the finish on the last lap into a sprint, the fight for a position starts a couple minutes back. You really want to be holding your position really well and knowing how to protect your space and protect the inside line so people aren't passing. And you want to be at least first or second wheel coming into this finish straight because it's really not a long sprint. So this is the final straight really coming into the finish. We're going to bend right, slowly up this mound, drop in, back onto this asphalt on the hippodrome, and the sprint is on, and that's really the course. This course has some real heavy driving in the sand as well as some fast flowing, potentially greasy technical corners. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and for following along this season, and please subscribe and share with your friends, and you can visit curtisjwhite.com/inthered for more content. Take care, stay healthy, keep riding, and we'll catch you soon.